Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 8 of Installation Route. Whenever I look at the rune automation we set up last video, I can't help but think to myself, where did it all go wrong? This pack was going so great, and then I built this. What possessed me to do that? Who knows? Anyways, for today, perhaps we can be hopefully a bit more productive. I would like to just complete these quests because they give us this thing. I don't know what it does. But all we need is 25 untamed plant matter and 25 elemental dust, which comes from pulverizing elemental stone. So we've been running our generator here, our whatever orchid for a while. I have it off at the moment because it does use up all of our mana if I leave it on indefinitely. So I'm going to let the mana recover. And we'll just take some of this stuff and do stuff with it. So I think the untamed plant matter is just useful. Yeah, we can turn it into biocrude. Then we can turn biocrude into grassoline at a 2-to-1 ratio. This is probably the most useless recipe in the world to duplicate your living matter. But yeah, so it's 2-to-1 to grassoline, and then 1 million RF per bucket. It's a way to generate RF, I guess. Not the greatest because this stuff is pretty expensive to make, right? At, 17,500 mana per, but whatever. For now, I just need it in my inventory, so I guess that's that. Anyways, run the elemental stone through the pulverizer. I have a lot of sawdust here, apparently. And once we have some of this, now this stuff is very useful. So the easy way to use it is we imbue it into heated water, and then we can either use it to make something weird or just separate this. I think we have to bucket it first and then separate it into sulfur, niter, and pulverized obsidian. And in fact, we should probably set up at least batch automation for this. The more expensive way to use it is to, instead of imbue it into heated water, we imbue it into heavy water, which gives us, I think it's... bottle that again, or bucket that again. That gives us the powders. I guess the powders are better than the dust, right? And really all this costs, in addition to some of this, the elemental dust, is some runes of earth. So let's set up a system that we can just drop a bunch of, a handful of runes of earth and elemental, probably dust, into a chest somewhere and let it make, it'll go through all the steps for us and ultimately spit out dusts the other end. Because for now, we still need a fair number of these dusts. But before we do that, we've completed this quest, so that gives us this item. We have to use, do we just use it in general? No, I assume we use it on a fabricator and speed up that specific fabricator. So I think the one making the ore that we're using for power, is that Sheldonite, I guess? We'll use it on there. There we go. Reduce the time to 190 ticks, so we get a little bit more. It says they don't stack, but I've noticed a couple quests scattered throughout give one as a... Hey, how did I never complete this quest? Weird. It's a bit cramped in this back corner, but I built our... whoopsies, didn't mean to do that. Completed a quest, though. I guess I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, our... whatever, centrifuging for... Whoopsies, this isn't done. Auto output enabled. Wait, you don't have your... No, your input is set. Okay, so let me show you how this works. There's 4 machines. There's 3 input chests and an output chest. And then in the first machine, or chest, we drop runes that imbues it into heavy water. Then the second chest, we drop elemental dust that turns it into infused elemental concrete. Third chest, we drop buckets. Unfortunately, this process consumes a bucket because there's only room for 4 outputs. So, oh well, rest in peace, bucket. And then, yeah, so that bottles the infused elemental concrete into buckets, and then we can centrifugal separate it into the powders, and then we'll get a chest full of them. So every now and then, I'll just come here and extract the chest. We could put a not a retriever, but a... What is this thing called? Not requester, distributor. It's basically a servo that works a little bit better with thermal logistics. It prioritizes sending items into filtered inventories. Then again, I don't have any of my inventories filtered, so it doesn't... It can basically send it wherever it likes. Whatever, for now, I'll just like every now and then come here and grab these powders. So what was that quest we completed? I guess it was this one. Fortunately, no quest awards. What a shame. the crampedness in this specific corner continues, but I decided to add another processing line to make and process separated elemental concrete. For now, this represents our easiest way to get pulverized obsidian, and the fact that it gives niter and sulfur is a welcome byproduct, especially considering that it's basically free. I mean, everything that goes into here, right? The elemental dust, automated. Water, automated. Well, easily automated. So anyways, fluid transposer fills a water bucket, heats the bucket, empties the bucket, infuses it with elemental dust. Continuing along here. So this is the only input to the system, is elemental dust. Fills buckets with that fluid, separates it, and in this case we do actually get the bucket back, so we don't even lose our buckets. Huzzah. Yeah, so this pulverized obsidian, once we have a fair amount of it, I'll use it to make hardened glass without having to like start from obsidian. Because making obsidian, for now, still requires, you know, to pour water on lava. And that, well, I guess we could probably make obsidian in this now, can't we? Well, too late. I already set up the system to make obsidian. Anyways, the reason I need some of those products is because we need both the dust and the powder to make, like, these thermal dusts. So the one line makes the powder, the other lines makes the dust, and it works out great. And then once we have these, we can melt these and then turn them into these various thingamajigs. Alrighty, so moving on, the next thing I want to do is automate, well, maybe not fully automate, but at least set up a process for producing these four things. So heavy water we already make. In fact, I'm going to set up another line that just dedicated for making heavy water for this. So like, I don't want to just borrow this heavy water maker wherever it is. Don't know why, but I did it this way, whatever. Then we just have to add in the inputs. Most of these are very trivial. 3 of them are petals, but one of them is emerald gears. So let's make ourselves a stack of emerald gears. So stained glass goes in there, hardened glass goes in there, and this will make actually a stack of emerald blocks, which is enough for, you know, stacking a little bit over 2 stacks of emerald gears. But yeah, emeralds are cheap. This is good. I guess today is the day of the alchemical imbuer. I think I've made more alchemical imbuers today than I've ever done, like, ever. Because I think I have 2 there, another 2 down here somewhere. Right, yeah, that's 4. And then there's a 5th one up here. 5? Is that it? Yeah, 5. Because usually these I just use to make potions. I don't know, never brew potions. So anyways, this set of alchemical imbuers makes heavy water and then takes that and imbues in either the petals or the gears that we just made to make these 4 different fluids. This system is a little susceptible to jams because of this piece of pipe. It'll jam up if ever the fluid has nowhere to go, right? It'll try to go into these 4, but if it fails, it'll just hang out in the pipe. So we just have to make sure not to fill up the tank. And if we do ever fill up the tank, we have to upgrade it or something. But that's not like a huge problem. Cool. So anyways, this is the 4, we can unpin those. Those are the fluids. Well, those are half the fluids that go into making these ingots. All right, now let's work on the other half. The other half I think is a little bit easier. These are just the thermal expansion dusts melted down. So, and the item is andesite. And we already have our agitator. So we're getting pretty close. I have no andesite here. That's okay. Let's check on the progress of these systems here. I might have to upgrade some of... Well, this one's doing pretty well. But yeah, I probably have to upgrade some of these machines. They're all basic tier for now. I think the centrifugal separator is probably the bottleneck by a significant margin. So I'll go ahead and upgrade those, I guess. While those machines are a little on the slow side, they are also on the automated side. So you know what? I'll take it. Then we can put all their outputs together into the dust. So, oopsies, we need a fair amount of redstone to go with this. How much do I have? That should be fine. Let's get a couple more stacks. If we need more, this is... I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but there's 2 ways to make redstone now. We can either duplicate it in the conjuration catalyst, or we can make it from levers in the regular mana pool. It costs more mana to duplicate it, but we have a fair bit of mana. It's also just like straight up less steps, so I prefer to duplicate it, and I just swallow the extra mana cost because we can. Anyways, go away. So let's make these 26 of them, huh? Good enough for me. Snowballs technically don't come from the thing. The centrifugal separator doesn't make us, like, it makes us the rest of the dusts, but snowballs are trivial to make from water, so I think it gave me the bucket back than snowballs. So, oh look, we get 4 of these for some reason. Oh, because I'm not bottlenecked by snowballs, whereas everything else I'm bottlenecked by, not the dust, but the other ingredient. That's alright. Anyways, we have a lot of these dusts now, so let's put this all away. And I'm going to wait a little while, I think, until I can make 1 stack of each of these dusts. And then we can process it all at once, right? Process stuff in big batches. I think each dust melts into 250 millibuckets, so yeah, each dust eventually turns into 1 ingot, with the help of a little bit of processing. Now that I have a stack of each of these, let's melt them in the magma crucible. Machine uses a lot of energy. Oh, in fact, our energy amount is dropping. Could add a couple dynamos, or we could just... this machine only runs in very short spurts. I think we'll be fine. I think I have some plans for power that we'll tackle in a little bit. For now, let's just let this thing melt all our things. And then I'm going to store them in reservoirs, because we're just, for now, again, going to move stuff by hand into the fluid agitator. All of our fluids have been melted, and here's hoping that we can actually move them with reservoirs. So, we can't. We probably require... Oh, hold on. Wait, output mode. Yeah, we can't. So I guess we have to pipe into it. Okay, I'm thinking let's actually move, because this machine doesn't take item input, right? Or it doesn't take energy input. Let's move it somewhere that we have access to all 6 sides, because this is kind of like the fluid, whatever, chemical reactor from Mechanism. There's 1, 2, 3 inputs, part input 4, part output 5, and final product output 6. So because it kind of has 6 things, we want to use all 6 sides to automate it with. Also, what is its internal buffer? Do we know? Does this thing tell us? If its internal buffer is sufficiently large, we can insert fluids 2 to one side. I don't want to break it, because then we void a piece. Let's just see how big the internal buffer is real quick. It appears to be 10 buckets, right? We have it halfway there, and it's at 5 buckets. So 10 buckets is conveniently the exact amount that a reservoir holds. So I think we're just going to use use basic reservoirs for to move fluids around for now. And then we can input both fluids on one side. Since I already put this Virid Avarice, it's based on avarice, right? Avarity? I don't know how to pronounce this word. We have to get its matching thing, which is petroleum, which is in here. Put 10 buckets of it in there, and we're off to the races. This machine, not terribly fast, not terribly slow. I'll take it. But here's our first astrophyte ingot, or whatever. Then the next one we have is arrogant hubris. So I'll put arrogant hubris in there, and its partner is gelid cryotheum. So this goes next. Alright, anyways, I'm gonna let this thing process to completion. Found a way to access all 6 sides of the machine without having to move it. I just put a signalum plated item duct here, so this is both an item duct and an energy duct. So while it doesn't need the energy connection, I do need the energy connection on the other side, so this does both. Anyways, final products get put into here, and then I just have to batch fill up these tanks from time to time. So, alright, we're making stuff. I wonder, how can we recycle? Oh, that sucks. I was hoping this could recycle into like I was hoping we could skip the whole etching process, but nope. Making all these parts is a little bit annoying, but I guess we'll deal. Anyways, yeah, in a couple minutes then this process will be done, and then we'll have our 4 I don't remember what to call these ingots. Our 4 thermal dust ingots, and that completes this quest. There's a lot of stuff gated behind that, and I think the first thing I want to get into is mob processing. A little bit of processing later, and we have 8 stacks of each of these ingots. Nice. No rewards for that, unfortunately. Alright, so, with these ingots, we get a couple things. We get a convenient thing is that we can directly craft reinforced tier machines, which is nice, saves some time and effort. But let's start with this instabulation apparatus. I've also I don't think I've ever made one of these. Because the thing is that normally you have to put mobs into morbs in order for this to really work out, right? Well, putting mobs into morbs is a non-trivial task with default like thermal stuff. So it's never been worth it. But this pack has special mob jam into morbifying mechanics, because we can make the DNA. So yeah, with that in mind, let's take a look at how many mobs I think would be worth farming. The one that immediately jumps out at me is Blaze. Blaze can be used to make power down the line, but let's... Ooh, which can get redstone and glowstone. Yeah, I'm gonna look through this and see how many of these I want to farm and set up a couple of mob farms. Let's actually just start with a single setup, just to understand how it works. So we need a DNA project table to be able to actually do this DNA stuff. Makes one of those. This is just retask one of the extended crafting tables, and it uses a block of diamond as the expensive cost. But at this point, a block of diamond isn't that much. All right, where do I put it? I guess you joined the other tables here. So we now have all the extended crafting tables, and that was a quest somewhere apparently. Oh, let's do this quest because we may as well get the other fabricator speeder upper. Okay, so anyways, to make blaze DNA, you need a bunch of chrome, a little bit of cobalt, cadmium. Doesn't look that bad. Turns out, even if I ask for blaze DNA and NEI, it just gives me all of it. So we're gonna need a few of these. Pig for the quest. What else do we need for the quest? Pig. Fish comes from polar bears, interestingly enough. So, okay, hold on. Pig, polar bear. Give me that quest back. This, I assume, is from squid. And gas. So pig, polar bear. We're gonna pick polar bear, squid, gas. And I'm sure they're in here somewhere. Blaze. Let's make a blaze. Alright, anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna craft these. I assume we have the materials for it. I just put a temporary setup here in the middle of the base for understanding how it works. So, we can use sequential fabricators to do the crafting. There's, again, not terribly many great auto-crafters in the pack. There's a sequential fabricator, there's the Botania auto-crafting with, like, the crafty crate. But the crafty crate's kind of... it's intentionally difficult to automate. So these sequential fabricators are a little bit expensive because they use tier 3 runes, but besides that, we can afford the cost. So anyways, a sequential fabricator can craft the DNA with a morb to fill it. If you use reusable morbs, you get them back 100% of the time, so that's nice. That sends it over to a centrifugal separator that has the morb processing augment and 2 speed augments, and it seems that this is actually just the perfect speed. So this runs relatively quickly. It effectively kills one mob basically without looting per I don't know how long this is, maybe second-ish, but the 2 machines are almost in perfect lockstep with each other. So by having 2 morbs in here, one is constantly being filled and one is being emptied. Now it does produce EXP, so we probably want to set up a system that tries to store the EXP in a book, but if it fails, you know, if the book's full or whatever, then it can just go ahead and void the experience. Although, yeah, it's probably worth trying to save as much experience as we can, even if it's not in a book, and a tank is fine too. But this produces blaze. Unfortunately, there's no way to effectively give it looting, so it's only a 50% chance at a blaze rod per cycle. But still, this is by far the easiest way we have so far of getting blaze. So we can do the other mobs with this too really quick. Let's swap it out for pig DNA. And then... what's keeping this from running now? Blaze... Oh, I have to update both the item and the ghost. Hit the set recipe button. There we go. And this will make us a few pork chops. We can then cook the pork chops. Why are you stopped? Inventory full. I've been manually dealing with these parts. They're a little bit annoying to manually deal with. At some point we'll have to automate the production and moving around of all these factory parts. But yeah, based on this, I think if we just have a single setup, it'll be like a single pair of fabricator and separators will be okay, because there's not a lot of mobs we need farmed right now, but we should probably set it up in a way that does make it reasonably easy to expand should that become necessary. All done. So which of our fabricators should we upgrade next? I'm thinking the iron ore one, because I use a lot. Like the iron ore just has the lowest quantity of the fruit, right? I use the most of it. This goes on the fabricator, not the cache. I could upgrade those caches to be larger too, but largely I don't think that matters. All right, cool. So with that, what can we do next? It's probably worth making the stainless stuff, because that does appear to be needed soon. So, well, the tempering oven is used to make stainless steel, as well as lumium, I believe, right? No, it uses lumium to make stainless. Hold on, how do we make lumium again? Recall this was in the arc furnace with lumium. Ooh, boy. Ew, this is a lot. A mob disassembler. Okay, let's hold off on that for a second. The refrigerator. The refrigerator is nice. Let's make this next, because it lets us freeze obsidian. It also replaces the well, it has a capability to replace this fluid transposer here when we're doing stuff when we're making blocks. Here, if I do it in the fluid transposer, I have to use the clay block cast. So that's obviously, the casts are single use. So let's just make a refrigeration unit really quickly. Before we get to that, though, I want to show you the absolute mess that is my compact mob farm. My goals here, right, were to make it so that I could scale it, at least a little bit, by adding more processing stuff, and scale the item storage, and keep it compact. So to that end, vertical scaling, there's two sets of fabricators and separators. One is right now doing witches and blazes. We can use that to make power later, but they do their thing, and then all the loot gets stored in a vertical column, which is hooked up to our logistics network. What do you call that thing? Thermal logistics network. And then we should be able to see plenty of redstone, tons of glowstone, gunpowder, all that good stuff is now being generated auto-magically, and it fits in, like, I mean, what's the footprint here? 1, 2, 3 by 2 by however much tall. That's pretty compact, even if you can't really service it at all. Getting in and out of here, by the way, it's awful. Like, if I didn't have 2-block jump, I would get stuck everywhere. But having 2-block jump height means I can, like, jump onto machines and then onto wires, and then I just take a little fall damage on the way down the other side. Yeah, it's beautiful, glorious, just as intended. Looking at the remaining quests, I actually think we're pretty close to finishing out part 2 here. So maybe we can hold off on all these nice, like, quality of life, neat little utility things until we finish this. Let's see exactly what this takes. So the goal here is to make the fission reactor, I guess? It's some type of reactor. I believe actually it's used for, let's see, resource. I believe the resource reactor is the one we're making here, which produces like primordium or something. All right, let's just look at this. It makes, okay, it can make various things, but I think primordial energy here is the thing we're after. Anyways, the block takes one machine controller, which is trivial to make, and this is the expensive part. 36 casings, 32 coils. So this is... we can't make it the easy way. We have to make it the hard way. Casings, not bad. But it's the coils that get you, because each coil requires 3... okay, so it's 3 energy cores for 2 coils. So while this... let's see, for 60... so we need 16 times 3... wait. Yeah, 16 times 2, 48 energy cores. Keep that in mind. Because this quest only asks for 1. And making 1 of them by hand seems like something we can do. Making 48 of them by hand is telling me that we have to automate it. That stuff like this is why I like to see the entire, more than just the unlocked quests, because yeah, it gives you a better idea of why you're doing things. All right, so to make energy cores, we have to make a unprimed energy core and then charge it, I guess. It looks like the only way to charge it is to fill it with energite. So we have to make a prepared shell and fill it with energite. And I think each time you fill it with 500 millibuckets of energite, it goes up by 1%. So you have to do this 80 times, I assume, because that's why, let's see. Prepared shell, energy, unprimed energy. Yeah, so it says optimal efficiency at 80% charge. I assume that means there's like a fail chance or something. In fact, let's read the book instead of speculating. Or maybe read the quest. Okay, quest doesn't tell us anything. Read the book then. So yeah, I assume it's if we don't get up to 80% or if we go over 80%, there's a chance that the operation will fail. But instead of speculating, we will look at stabilization table. Is stabilize a charge and surrounded with active redstone magnets. See core stabilization in the parts section. All right. Parts, core stabilize energy. Core, hold on. Let me find it. I'm pretty sure they mean this blurb about the energy core here. So, flavor text, the method of producing them is detailed on the next page. Thank you. Process. Okay, I'm disregarding the recipes because I suspect those might be changed. But so we first make the base thing. It must be filled with energite in the fluid transposer. And this is where the 80% comes in. The filled core is now ready to be charged in a charging table. So yeah, the optimal charge, wait, so the charge level is 80%, not the, I don't know, there's an 80% and a charge table involved. When I just look at this recipe, so yeah, this is, I think, not these, no, this is a standard recipe. Dang, these things are expensive. All right, well, anyways, yeah, so this is filled. Oh, I see. So I think the process of filling them is what charges it, I guess. It really only gains 1% per cycle. I'm gonna have to test this out in my test world. But anyways, let's continue from here. So do not go above 100% or it will explode. This sounds like I'm, a fun thing to do in a confined space, but whatever. At this point, the core is brimming with power, but it's too volatile to be used. To stabilize it, it must be yada 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 multi-block. I think that's one of our first multi-blocks this pack. Anyways, 4 redstone magnets, 2 blocks away, must be required. Alternating redstone current. I don't know what that means. I assume it's like we have to toggle a redstone signal. I don't know. Well, again, I'll test out the details in a test world because of the whole explodey business. Several things can go wrong. Yep. First, the magnetic field strengths must be... They're using a lot of words that they haven't, like, given context for. This will make a lot more sense maybe if I actually do it as opposed to trying to understand. Anyways, I just see here that more explodey bits. So it's a very explodey process. Let's start by making the prepared shells then. So what was it, 48 that we needed? Let's just bite the bullet and make a whole stack of these because I'm sure they'll be used in other stuff or I'll accidentally explode them. Knowing me, there'll be a lot of accidentally exploding them going on. As I'm in the process of making these shells, involves not that much stuff, but we have to make a lot of aluminum. I'm going to drop a bunch of aluminum ore into the pulverizer. At some point I should also set up automated ore processing, but that leads me to my next problem. We are out of power. Part of that problem is because I upgraded some of my machines, in fact most of my machines, to what is this called? Whatever, like to the next tier. So these are all reinforced tier machines, and I didn't upgrade my energy. I mean, my energy, they are reinforced dynamos, but like each dynamo only produces 160 versus each machine, which consumes twice that. So let's actually do power upgrades now instead of later. The reason I set up exactly these two mob farms is because they produce all the stuff we need for what I believe to be some pretty efficient power. And that is in the form of blazing pyrotheum put through a magmatic dynamo. So we can directly make reinforced magmatic dynamos. That's a big win. It saves on making those upgrades. And the these two mob farms produce the redstone, blaze rods, and sulfur dust that we need for making the blazing pyrotheum, right? That's blaze powder comes from pulverizing the rods, the sulfur comes from the farm and a little bit from the rods, and the redstone comes from the witches. All right, so let's find a place to build this first of all. Maybe we are really cramped here now. Maybe we get rid of the farm and build it up here, or extend this a little bit and build it up here somewhere. Yeah, something like that. I'll find some room. Out with the old farm and in with the new power generation. So, let me finish wiring this up real quick and then I'll show you how exactly it's done. Alright, so I'm using a bunch of signalium plated iron ducts here just so I can conserve space a little. Now that this stuff is pretty easy to craft, I'm just using it quite often. Anyways, the raw inputs then get supplied by the thermal logistics. So this pipe is connected to our main our main network, which means that I can request items from here. So requester pulls from storage or crafters if storage is empty. Because I don't actually have a crafter for this, I could have just as well used a retriever, but may as well do the logistics-y thing. So anyways, that pulls blaze rods to here. I asked for 1 stack of them. Then a pulverizer pulverizes them, give it some upgrades to make it faster. Then I'm using a buffer crate here just to hold the outputs, specifically because a buffer crate will always have, it'll always leave slots for stuff. It'll never allow you to withdraw the last item from it. And this process produces blaze rods and sulfur, but doesn't quite produce enough sulfur. So I have the requester here to augment the sulfur to, get us all the way up to a stack of sulfur. And if we produce extra, great, it'll take up slots. If we're consuming more sulfur at any given time than we're producing, then the requester will pick up the slack and pull the difference in. It also gets us up to a stack of redstone. The redstone only comes from the network. Anyways, that goes into a sequential fabricator that has the pattern validation to make sure that the slots don't jam. That makes pyrotheum dust. Goes into a magma crucible, which melts the dust into a buffer tank. And as long as this number is going up, I don't know how many augments we actually need in here, but it looks like we have enough. So anyways, this melts it into liquid blazing pyrotheum, and that distributes it into some number of dynamos. Looks like 4 is... Well, I'm using 4 for now, and they all have the excitation field limiter, so that they, they're allowed to throttle. It says advanced throttle, but with the way this pack is configured, basically, without this, they get no throttling. So with it, they get to turn off when not in use, which is great. And each one produces 480 RF a tick, so 4 times that is almost 2,000, right? And just a hair under 2,000. There's another, that tower I think makes like 1,500. So right now we're making up to 3.5k RF a tick, which means that we can definitely turn on all of our machines. Fall damage. Maybe I should look into... I'm sure Botania has something that can make my fall damage less painful. But all these machines I had previously turned off... wow, you have a lot of sides configured. All these machines I previously turned off, we can turn back on. And I think it was just those two. But any of these that don't have upgrades, or I haven't applied the reinforced tier upgrade to, we can do those as well now with our newfound excess of power. And let's wrap things up on that note for today. So next time we'll come back and continue our work towards the whatever this is used to make energy cores and however many explosions that entails. So I hope you're looking forward to that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.